want to thank everyone for being here this morning. I want to thank my colleagues here in the Senate Republican Conference who are here. Some of our colleagues can't be here today because there's a series of meetings, committee meetings, constituent meetings. But I want to thank the members of the press who are here and, of course, our colleagues. You're going to be hearing from several of them. You're going to be hearing from Senator Patricia Canzoneri Fitzpatrick, Senator Palumbo, and Senator Rollison. And the topic is a topic that we've heard a lot about really for the past 2 years, I suppose, maybe even beyond that. The governor likes to talk about it. Senate Democrats like to talk about it. And Republicans talk about it as well. Affordability, right? That's the buzzword. There's always a buzzword. I remember years ago it was transparency. That was once a buzzword, right? But affordability, that's the big buzzword. And it should be the buzzword because Americans are struggling with how to afford the basic necessities of life. Groceries, gas, education, how to save for retirement. They're having a hard time affording a home, if that first home, or if they have to move. Everything has gotten expensive. The American dream has gotten expensive. I go back to a comment that the lieutenant governor, or I guess soon to be former lieutenant governor, made the comment on the Senate floor on opening day. He said about hopes and dreams here in New York. Well, hopes and dreams usually cost something. That's the sad part about hopes and dreams. There's usually a cost to those hopes and dreams. And people are going to seek out other states where it's more affordable to pursue those hopes and dreams. And that's not New York. So when we talk about affordability, I couldn't believe when I saw the Senate Democrats' one-house budget. I could not believe it. Nothing about this one-house budget is going to make New Yorkers' life more affordable. Nothing. I would debate anyone in this room and anyone on that floor till the end of session on any one thing in here that they think is going to make life more affordable for New Yorkers. In fact, the one mealy-mouthed thing the governor put out, the rebate check, right? We're going to stimulate the economy. Here's $500, which I thought was sort of a gimmicky joke. Apparently, even that was not able to withstand the Senate Democrats. They whittled that away. Now it's only for seniors. That was the one thing. That was the one way the New Yorkers were going to give money back to New Yorkers. And Senate Democrats couldn't even do it because they don't believe in giving money back. They believe in investing, right? We're investing in New York, which really means we're taking more of your money and we're going to put it where we think it is best because we know better than you. Don't worry about affording groceries. We'll take care of it. That it is just a very, and my colleague, God bless her, Senator Krueger, you know, the noblesse oblige limousine liberal ideology is clearly alive and well. The notion that someone, obviously from Manhattan, God bless her, but the mentality that, yes, it's expensive, but she talked about New York as if it was, we were going gangbusters, as if people weren't leaving. We have the best economy. I mean, Goldman Sachs is going to Texas. Goldman Sachs. If Goldman Sachs can't afford to be in New York, what the hell chance does the working person have? Literally, the symbol of private equity, investment banking. They're going to Texas. And they can bury their heads in the sand or in the clouds. I heard one of my colleagues said, well, it's all these jobs are in the clouds now. The only thing in the clouds is my colleagues' heads. And that's being kind. I mean, it is unbelievable that we're going to spend $17 billion more of taxpayer. We're going to raise taxes, increase taxes, chase more people out of here. Get rid of those rebate checks for most New Yorkers. I'm glad they kept it for the seniors. But you know who needs tax relief? Everybody. Working moms, working parents, small businesses. We did nothing. Don't talk to me about investing. You want to invest? Go into the stock market. New Yorkers do not look at their tax dollars as being invested wisely. And I would even go further to say, in spite of all the billions of more money, what do we have to show for it? If you were to go out and talk to any average New Yorker, do it right now. Do it today. When you leave here, Go on the street and just grab someone and say, is your life better today living in New York? Is it better today because of the billions of dollars? It was $163 billion in 2019, the state budget. It's $250 billion today. And if this budget has its way, it's going to be, well over 260, approaching maybe $270 billion. And what do we have to show for it? All the investing that we're doing. If we were a fund manager, we'd be fired. Because we can't show a return on that investment. Is the state safer? No. Are people coming in droves? No, they're leaving. Is our economy better? No. I mean, every fact that they spit out there on the floor the other day, there's actual data to refute. The numbers do not lie. We're shedding people at a rate that exceeds other states. We're losing congressional representation in Washington, D.C. We're losing not like small businesses. Those have been going for years if they can. We're losing titans of finance. You know what New York's known for? Finance. This would be like a cattle rancher in Texas coming to Iowa. The state of Texas wouldn't accept that because they support the industries. But we've been chasing industries out of here for years. I guess finance, it was just their time. But, there was, I think the NASDAQ just announced that they're going to do, maybe looking at 24/7, 365 trading. The minute that happens, it's just going to further exacerbate the blood flow, the blood loss here in New York. And to have my colleagues stand up there and just try to tell New Yorkers, don't believe your eyes, just like they do with crime. Crime's not up. Don't pay attention to that woman who's being burned alive on the train station. Don't pay attention to the cop who's beat up by 5 people here illegally. Don't pay attention to what you see. Just listen to me. Crime is down. Don't pay attention. The economy's great. I know you can't afford jack, but don't worry about it. We're investing in New York. We're going to make it more affordable. Eventually, we'll get to some number of billions of dollars, and we're going to turn that corner. Actually, what we're going to do is just go over the cliff. That's what's happening. And nothing, again, there's comments that are made by some of my colleagues that I know maybe some of them are well-meaning, well-intentioned, good people, good human beings, completely misguided, running this state into the ground, totally detached from the average person in New York State. And maybe in some way, there's no more better example of this than the new U.S. Senator from New York, Chuck Schumer, who the other day, he was on The View, maybe because he was surrounded by other people who are detached from reality. Maybe he, lost sense of what was going on. But he literally said it's greedy Americans who want to keep more of their own money. I mean, look, if there's any, maybe his time in politics is just, maybe he's just given up. I don't know. But to say that, and I think sometimes that's like the quiet part that's out loud, right? Greedy Americans, you want to keep more of your own hard-earned money. Small businesses, you want to keep more of your hard-earned money. You built he sort of said it like derogatorily, right? You built your business with your hands, as if they didn't. This is a guy who hasn't built jack all. He spent his entire life in politics. The only person he's employs is in his Senate staff. He hasn't built anything. And he's going to sit there and go on The View and rip apart greedy Americans who want to keep more of their hard-earned money. People who are struggling to make ends meet in one of the highest tax, most overregulated, most expensive states in the country. The disdain for the New York voter and the American voter by the Democratic Party in this state is staggering. And I see it every day. I see it in their budgets. I see it in how they treat corrections officers. I see it in how they treat farmers and small business people. I see it in how they treat gun owners. I see it in how they treat so many people from so many walks of life. And it's disgusting. And that's why they're losing. That's why they're at 27% favorable. 27%. As one of the comedians I heard the other day said, that's 7% from moving into the red bar low power mode on my phone. All right, that's a danger zone on my phone, and it's a danger zone for politics. But they just keep doubling down. And I just, the idea that this budget is about affordability, and you could hear it. I saw Senator Skoufis and other senators. They were like punching back. This is a affordable budget. We're investing in New Yorkers. Yeah, you keep telling yourself that. You keep telling yourself that. The more you say it, the more I don't even think you believe it. But this conference has a number of policies that actually put money back in people's pockets. That's all we can do. I don't pretend that we or even people in this building can control global markets or inflationary things. Some of these things are far bigger than us. So the only thing we can do is try to put more money directly in people's pockets so they can afford the basic necessities that are so expensive right now, especially in New York State. And we don't do that. We do not do that. And we're not doing it in this budget. And to talk about more, I think just about the lack of affordable options in this budget and what our conference views as better policy when it comes to affordability towards keeping people here. They're not going to stay here if they can't afford to. Some people can't afford to leave. That's even the more tragic thing. They can't afford to get out, but if they could, they'd be gone. That should shame everybody in this building. That's who we should be working for every day that we're here. And if we're not part of the solution, we're part of the problem. Someone who is part of the solution is my colleague from Nassau County, someone who I know talks about these issues every day when she's back home, and someone who probably lives these issues. And that is Senator Patricia Canzoneri Fitzpatrick.
Thank you, Leader. Thank you, Leader, for your leadership. Thank you for my conference, because as the Leader just stated, we have an affordability issue. We cannot spend our way out of it. And being in touch with our constituents, and as a mom of 4, I am well-versed in what goes on. Just at Costco the other day, there was a run on eggs, and I could see people filing by me with those egg cartons. And I know that I've got 3 kids at home right now that want to have eggs. And I had to push my cart to the side and run to the egg market to make sure I went home with eggs, because 2 weeks before I didn't go home with eggs. My daughters, who are teenagers, know about going to the right gas station to make sure that they don't overspend on putting gas in their car so that they can get to school. That's the world that we live in, and every day I'm in touch with constituents and their crises and what they are facing. And as the Leader just said, the people on the other side of this building are so out of touch that they don't realize how people are struggling. And that's where I am proud to be part of this conference, because as the Leader said, we can't fix every problem, but we can come up with some common sense solutions to react to what we're seeing. And that's what we're doing. An $8.6 billion increase was proposed by the governor, and it wasn't enough that the one House budget out of the Senate actually had to increase spending by $15.5 billion. We cannot spend our way out of this. And when they cut those rebate checks, that was the one glimmer of hope that, when you get that check for just a few $100s, it might help you go to Costco or put some gas in your car. I'm struggling with my utility bills, looking at what it's like to run my house. And I know that right now I couldn't afford to buy my house again because the prices have skyrocketed. And that's why I'm today speaking about a bill that my colleague, Senator Pam Helming, has proposed that I'm a co-sponsor of, and that's Senate Bill 850. And that is providing for a refundable tax credit for first-time home buyers, that they will get a credit of 50% of their taxes during their first year of purchase. And that will be phased out to a low of 10% in year 5. That's what people need. People need assistance. I have family members looking to buy a house. My nieces and nephews have asked for a backyard. And how heart-wrenching it is that family members of mine are struggling, and they've got two parents working in the family, and they're trying to get that backyard, to have that American dream for their kids. And the prices are out of sight. If anybody has bought a house, they know that during their first year, it's title costs, it's closing costs, it's, the bank points, it's coming up with a down payment. It's all of those pieces that you need to do in that first time when you are willing to take that plunge and buy a home. And if you are doing that, why can't we help you in that first year to get through that hump? Because that first year, you're coming up with so much money. So I applaud Senator Pam Helming and thank her for her leadership, and I'm proud to co-sponsor this bill because it will actually give a common sense, affordable solution to people who want to stay here in New York. That, as the leader said, there are statistics about people leaving the state. Just last November, Cornell did a study that said they projected that we're going to lose 2 million people in the next 25 years. If we keep up on this pace, we have to do better. And I am proud, again, to stand with this conference, offer common sense solutions, because enough is enough. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to my colleague from Long Island, Senator Anthony Palumbo.
Thank you, Senator, and thank you, leaders. And when you think about what is affordability, what is it really? Like, these policies that we're talking about will incrementally make it better. And what we need to do is put the state on a trajectory of affordability. It's not going to be done overnight, but it's something that's done incrementally. And we talk about home ownership. Home ownership, affordability, affordable housing, again, constantly discussed by both parties in this building. Some of us mean it honestly, and others, I think, not so much. Because when you put these numbers together, I just read this morning in Newsday that the median home price in Suffolk County is just under $700,000. My Senate district is the east end of Long Island. I bet it's double. And we were joking that I have people who, I'd look at the real estate magazines out by me, and they actually start dialing what is the price of the home as a phone number, because it's outrageous. Think about that. It's probably at least $1 million. My kids aren't going to be able to own a home. So what do we need to do? Making things affordable will put money back in those greedy taxpayers' pockets, as Senator Schumer said. So the bill that I'm going to discuss is a bill that I presented in 2014 when I first came to the legislature, the Affordable New York Act. It would reduce the income tax rate by 2%, but I think most specifically to home ownership, it would double the STAR exemption. My predecessor, I believe, was one of the key architects of the STAR exemption. So something that's unique to our beloved Senate District 1. But the STAR exemption, of course, is a reduction in school tax relief and reduces property taxes. So people who own homes get some tax relief from the state. Every dollar that's subsidized by the state is directly a dollar in the taxpayer's pocket that is not going to be paid towards school taxes. And down by me, 2/3 of your bill is school taxes. So this is a common sense, really straightforward thing, and the cost of it, fortuitously. Speaking with some of our finance people today, the STAR exemption, the cost of that program was $2.2 billion in 2018. So I'm going to round up with inflationary costs. It's right around $3 billion. The cost of the one-shot $500 check, which pays possibly maybe 1 month's electric bill on Long Island, that the governor is going to give us. And I'm sure, remarkably, those checks will land right around election time, just so everyone can be reminded about what a wonderful job she's doing to put money back in your pockets. That's a one-time thing. And with a budget that's as enormous as we just discussed, with the increases that the found revenues, we're acting like, like teenagers who get an inheritance or find money that I'm going to go buy a Mustang. This is a great idea. We spend it on these pet projects, and we refuse to put it back in the pockets of the taxpayers. So that's what this conference has always stood for and will continue to stand for. Enough with the lip service. We need action, and we can incrementally move in that direction if we start really thinking about the fact that taxpayers know what to do best with their money. And once we start doing that, and we reduce the costs of living and encourage home ownership, because those people are less likely to leave and run out of the state like people have been doing, like it's on fire. So hopefully this is something that will be considered by the governor and our colleagues. And I'm proud, again, to stand with this conference and introduce my friend and Senator Rob Rollison to discuss some of his.
Thank you. Well, starting with the leader and with my colleagues, well said. I mean, and this isn't something that you haven't heard before. Time and time again, this conference has stood for sanity. Sanity when it comes to fiscal discipline that obviously we do not see from the other side of the aisle, and the leader talking about the increased numbers in the budget. People at home who are paying attention are like, this is insane. And for me, I had a great career as a police officer for 26 years, and I used to hear my colleagues from the PD say, when I retire, I'm getting out of New York State. And that hurt me because I've lived here my whole life. And then I became an elected official in 2003 in the county legislature in Dutchess County, then mayor for 7 years. And then I really started to see firsthand what this state government does to local government. That's a whole other topic in itself. That's obscene. The mandates that are pushed down from here to local governments, and they say, it's a great program, you got to do it, and you got to pay for it. That's just one part of what happens up here. And so knowing that, and then coming here to Albany in 2023, and I was very lucky to be able to bring staff members over from Senator Serino's office. At the time, she had a staff member that was dedicated just to dealing with utility companies because of all the challenges with rates and billing, and then we're doing the same thing. Majority of his time when rates are spiking out of control is answering the phone and trying to help people with their bills. Now, let's talk about the 5 letters that most people don't know what it means, but we know what it means. It means economic uncertainty and fiscal pressure. Again, that's the CLPCA. If you ask just about anybody outside of here or around the industry, what's it mean? They don't know. But what they do know is that with the pressures of the CLPCA and the time frame, it's getting passed down to the ratepayers. And they are ill-prepared to pay more money with their rates, which are going up for a variety of reasons, mostly because of the mandates of the CLPCA. And when we try to explain that to folks, they're like, I need help with my bill. And so I get it. We see it. We all see it. Everybody in this room sees how our bills are rising. And we don't really know what the impact of that CLCPA is. And so what I'm asking, and the conference is asking, I have a bill introduced called the Ratepayer Relief Act. And now it does 2 things, common sense things. It directs the PSC to develop a formula to determine the average cost on a per ratepayer basis to comply with the CLPCA. So in other words, we should be able to tell our constituents, this is what you can expect based on the mandates and the time frame in that document. And the PSC needs to do that because we're hearing all kinds of different numbers and percentages, and the average person has no idea what it means other than it's going to be more misery and trying to afford to live here and stay in New York. Now, as we've heard before, what our conference is actually suggesting and putting forth solutions to this affordability crisis. So also what this would do is would provide a ratepayer protection credit to the ratepayers based on that number. Not some arbitrary thing, the actual number that's going to be in your bill, you're going to be able to get an income tax credit for that. Because we need to do something. Because currently the status quo is not cutting it here in Albany, which is unfortunately the norm. Even the state comptroller, Tom DiNapoli, who is respected by everyone, he called for improved planning with this document. And continuing with the inadequate planning is going to fall right at the foot of taxpayers. That's what we stand for in our conference. Look at what we put forward, look at what we say, pushing back against the affordability and inaffordability, really, of the other side of the aisle and we'll continue to do that. And I couldn't be prouder to stand here again with conference members, proud to be in this state Senate, and we're going to continue to fight, because that's what we do, and put some transparency on the insanity that's going on up here, especially when you have other people on the other side of the aisle saying things that just don't make any sense. So I'm going to turn it back over to our great leader, Senator Rob Work.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you. Well, again, I want to thank my colleagues, all who I think acquit themselves, their constituents in this conference very well, and I appreciate their comments. And I'll close again by just contrasting those bills you heard. They're very straightforward, easy bills to understand. They're easy to comprehend what's going on there. But the focus is this conference firmly believes, and I think this is a contrast point for New Yorkers out there, this conference, the Republican Senate conference, believes that more money in your pocket, unlike Chuck Schumer and my colleagues, that is what we should be trying to do we should be taking as little as we need to run the state of New York and allowing you to keep more so that you can provide for your family. We don't provide for your family. The state government doesn't provide for your family. The state government doesn't raise your kids, thank God. The state government is not in the business of that. We don't put gas in your car. We need to provide more funding in people's pockets through proposals like these so that they can afford the basic necessities that have become so expensive in a state that even Senator Kruger says is expensive. Even her own acknowledgement. Now, she doesn't know what to do about that, and maybe doesn't understand why it's so expensive, that it's her and her colleagues that have helped make it so expensive. But she does acknowledge that it is expensive. And again, I would just ask, on all the billions of dollars, almost $90 billion since 2019, almost $90 billion, cumulatively, it's far greater than that. You're probably looking at hundreds of billions of dollars, the cumulative increases over that time. What do New Yorkers have to show for that? All the money spent in schools. Are the scores better? Are the kids coming out better prepared? I don't think so. I haven't seen any data that shows that. All the money that ESD blows. Are we bringing more people into the state? More businesses? No, we're losing them. Are our streets safer? Most of them are not. So are our farmers, are they doing better? No. How about grocery prices? No. How about people's utility bills? Those got to be down, right? All this investment? No. So in every metric that an average New Yorker would look to as a sign that at least the investment's working, it's the opposite. This is almost like a Ponzi scheme at this point, if you want to use the investment thing. Just give me another few bucks, a little bit more, and this time I'm going to make it right. And New Yorkers are tired of this, and unfortunately, rather than just wait to vote, they're voting with their feet. They're leaving. They're voting in different states, the ones who can afford to leave. And so this conference does not want to see that current trajectory. We want to keep people in the state who want to be here. We don't want, Florida's a great place to visit. I don't want to have to live there. I don't want my nephews and nieces to have to live there. I don't want them to have to go to Texas to work at Goldman Sachs or wherever they're going to work. I want them to be here, to remain here, to pay taxes here, and to do that, to keep our best and brightest, we need to be smarter, and we need to really know how to spell affordability. This budget couldn't spell it for $200 and something billion. They can't spell affordability. So I want to thank my colleagues again for their bills, for their legislation, Senator Canzoneri Fitzpatrick, Senator Palumbo, and Senator Rollison.